Hello, my Scrappy friends. It is Jess here from the Scrappy Sisters, and thank you for joining me for our guest crafter layout I am making for Rosie's studio. Now, I am working with their brand new collection called Jumping in Puddles, and I am creating this super cute card featuring their beautiful stamp and pieces of ephemera, and I cannot wait to get into it with you. I will of course keep all the measurements and everything in the description box down below, but I'll also tell them to you as it comes ahead. This is called a double Z fold card. I did not invent this fold, but I have never created it before, so it was super fun to get making. So the short side is 4¼ inches by 11 inches, and the smaller piece is 3 inches by 9 5/8. And you score both of those at the 2 3/4 mark and the 5½ mark. So this is the little one that is 9 5/8 by 3 inches. And then the big one, which is 11 inches by 4¼ and you score them both in the exact same place at 2 3/4 and again at 5½. Now I'm going to cut all the pattern paper. Now the pattern paper, if you've got something with a pattern that goes in a certain direction, just make sure you're being careful when you cut this. If you've got a pattern that goes any which way, you won't have to worry. I did have to think about mine a little bit when I was cutting it, just to make sure I use my paper correctly. So the pattern paper, the colourful paper, you need one piece that is 5¼ inches by 4 inches. And then you need two pieces by 2½ inches by 4 inches. So one larger piece and two smaller pieces that are the same size. So a little bit tricky to think about with this pattern, and you can see even myself, I was really just checking as I cut this one because I didn't want to have to mess it up and mess up my cuts, but I wanted to make sure my raindrops fell downwards. So then once you've sorted that, you also just need one more thing, which is just white cardstock, and that's going to be where you do like sort of your stamping on and your writing and your sentiments and that kind of thing. And you need 3 of these as well. And they are 3 7/8 by 2 3/4. And there are 2 pieces that you need at 2½ by 2 3/4. Those are all the measurements I have to give you. I know that was a lot. I will definitely write those down in the description box down below. But I just thought some of you might be writing them down, I don't know, as you come along, or just thinking about how much paper you need. So I created this one with a 12 by 12 piece of paper and 2 of the 6 by 6 papers from the Jumping in Puddles 6 by 6 paper pad. Now I've pulled my little mini mixed media paper and my stamping pal. I don't know. I made that word up. And I'm going to be creating a little scene with embossing powders because I just thought that might be a really nice way to create them, seeing as I plan on watercoloring to color them in. I thought they might, I love that idea of the embossing powder creating kind of like a wall and keeping the watercolor in. I'm also not a proficient stamper, so I wasn't certain that if I put watercolors on the stamping inks that I have, if it wouldn't make them run or bleed a little bit. So this way I knew that if I used embossing, all would be well. So I go ahead and I emboss all the little bits and pieces onto this piece of white cardstock. So I do the umbrella, I do both of the little squirrels, I put some special raindrops because I didn't just use the standard raindrops. Who wants to be standard where you can be a little bit extra? I used the confetti raindrops and I used gold embossing powder for that. And then I also stamped a sentiment as well. So now I've just pulled out my watercolors and I am having a little play colouring in all the bits and pieces, and oh gosh, it was so much fun. These were so cute to create and to just have a play with, and I ended up making 3 cards. So I made them all just a little bit different, and I used different colours to colour them all in. I had a little play with the squirrels, making them brown and golden and grey, and just having a play. I had a little play with the colour palette there as well, mixing up the different shades that I used for the umbrella. Silly me chose this colour palette, and I don't have a pink in it. And I just feel like pink is a really beautiful element of the Jumping in Puddles collection. So I decided to make up my own by mixing the red with a little bit of white. And I'm so glad I did, because it really works beautifully with the umbrella. Now, while I am painting away over here, I will also mention that hopefully you checked out the unboxing I did the other day on the 8th with beautiful Jumping in Puddles collection. I unboxed everything and just highlighted all the amazing pieces in this collection, because it is stunning, and there are just so many bits and pieces in this collection, and I'm so lucky to be playing around with all of them. So definitely go and check that out if you would like to see this collection as a whole, because I know these cards don't highlight all the amazingness that is included in the collection. But of course, I do have more layouts coming throughout this month, so you can definitely stay tuned for those. I'm also super lucky that I have been given a code for Rosie Studio that will expire on October 31st. So the code for that is my name, Jess, Jess in capital letters, then JP for Jumping in Puddles. So Jess, JP 10. So if you are thinking about having a look at Rosie Studio and having a look specifically at this collection, just make sure you use my code with this collection, because why not? Who doesn't love a cheeky little discount? So I'm almost done with painting up. You can see that I did blast it a little bit with my heat gun, just to make sure I wasn't sort of running or smudging the colours too much. I really wanted to keep them in their little designated sections, especially with the umbrella, because I wanted that nice clear differentiation. And I also wanted to add some sort of darker bits as well, so once it was dry I could go back over with a second layer. So now we're up to assembling the actual card. So the base stock is that sort of creamy colour, which were the 2 larger pieces, the 11.5 by 4.25 and the 9 5/8 by 3/4. And now I am putting on the coloured paper on the larger piece. So the 3 bits of coloured paper make up the base. I'll sit on top of the base of that larger piece of cardstock, and it's kind of the part of the card that is in the background. It doesn't have any stamping or embellishments on it, but it kind of like holds the ground, I think you would say, because it's the one that's got all the beautiful colours and pattern paper on it. And then we add our interesting parts to the smaller Z fold piece, which is the 9 5/8 by 3/4. Now, I'm not going to add all these bits on just yet, because I'm going to get to stamping and things like that as well. So we're popping on this is our main front cover. So that's going to be the very front of the card. So I'm just going to fussy cut out the beautiful squirrel holding the umbrella. I wasn't 100% sure at first how I wanted to cut these out. If I want to try and cut them out all as one piece, or if I wanted to cut them out as all separate pieces. I kind of went for a little bit of both. Because the squirrel is literally holding the umbrella, I cut the umbrella and squirrel out as one piece, but then cut the second squirrel out as a second piece, just so I could have more choice as to how close or far apart from each other I popped them. And I'm going to put them up on foam and stick them on the front of the card. There's going to be a little bit of overhang just to add a little bit of interest there, just to make it look a little bit fancy. So remembering that after the first score line where I'm about to stick this next piece of white paper, that's actually inside the card. So I can afford to have a little bit of overhang because the overhang will be sitting off the card. I will just need to remember though, it will affect the size of my envelope if I hang it so far that it goes past the base. So I am going to be careful about that. So just cutting my little sentiment that I printed here as well. There are some really cute sentiments in this stamp collection. This stamp I noticed is like just suitable for all options. There's like a sympathy. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. There's like a sympathy card. There's like a happy birthday card. There's a thank you. There's a thinking of you. There's like, you're my best friend type card. There's just an option for everything, which I think is amazing when it comes to a stamp set if you're a card maker, because you only need to buy one stamp set and you can do the lot, which is pretty awesome. So I'm just popping up my sentiments on foam. I am using a mixture of ephemera piece sentiments as well as stamped sentiments, and I am popping those on both of the smaller 2 pieces of white. One I am putting quite a bit of ephemera, so there's not a lot of empty space. The other one I'm leaving a bit more empty so that I have more space to write. The idea being that you would be able to write on both of the 2 sections, but yeah, one's a little bit more covered than others. I guess it depends on how much you personally like to write in a card. I am not the best card writer, so if there's heaps of ephemera inside, that kind of suits me, because then I just have to write, Dear Katie, love Jess, and that works for me. So then the front cover here, I'm going to pop that up on the little squirrels up on foam so that they are a bit more important on the front of the page. And you can see already that we're almost done. This card is really quite simple, and especially if you plan on making more than one, once you kind of make a chain reaction happening, it's quite quick and easy to put it all together. As you know, if you're a stamper, the most sort of time-consuming part is the stamping and colouring in. But for me, that was the funnest part, so I certainly did not mind. I'm just, as I said, popping everything up on foam. I'm using large sheets of A3 glitter foam that I got from just a cheap shop here in Melbourne. I use it for 2 things. So I make my own thickers and titles and things like that with my die cutting, like with my Big Shot. But I also use it to back the back of things to pop them up because it's super cheap. It was only about $2 a piece or something like that. And I think it might be even bigger than A3. I don't know, but it's huge. It's really big. I've had it for about 4 years and I'm still going strong. So definitely love that. Now, just to finish these off, I decided to put on some Novu drops. I colour matched as best I could with the drops that I had. Sorry that my camera is currently going out of focus. It can't decide whether to focus on my head, which is obviously closest to the camera, or my hand, which is the thing that's moving and doing something. So it's having trouble deciding, but I promise it will get back to normal as soon as I finish this last dot here. And that is this particular card finished. Now, as I mentioned, I did make 3 of these, so I do have 3 of them to show you because they're super cute. With this one, I decided instead of using that cream base as my base, I used a pink, which was super fun. And this one, of course, I went back to the cream base. The fun thing about the umbrellas one, the pink card, is the umbrellas, the pattern paper goes in any direction, so I didn't even have to think when I was cutting up that pattern paper, which was super cute. I hope you have enjoyed watching this first layout I've created as guest creator for Rosie Studio, and I cannot wait to share with you some more layouts coming up throughout this month, so stay tuned for that. There are 3 more Jumping in Puddles layouts coming at you over September, and I cannot wait for you to see them all because I am super, super excited to share them all with you. Bye.